live. I've got a fun recipe for you guys today. I'm excited about this. We'll wait until more people start coming in. We'll let people get in here, and I will tell you guys what we're gonna make. In the meantime, I'm gonna melt a little bit of butter. How's everybody's weather where you guys are at? We are experiencing rain, and it's not fun. I'm not excited about it, but I know it has to happen, so. But I know I'm a couple minutes early. Usually I'm a little bit late, so I wanted to be on time today. So I'm a couple of minutes early, so we'll just give everybody time to get in here and get situated before we get started. I usually jump right into the recipe, and then people come in and have no idea what I'm doing. So I'm gonna wait just a couple of minutes until people start showing up. I know we're gonna miss a couple of people today. They're usually here for the live video, but they had other things going on, so they weren't gonna be here today. But when you guys do watch it, just wanted to say hi, and we missed you guys in the live. So I'm gonna grab my melted butter really quick. Because it is super important for the recipe, so we definitely have to have it. I'll wait a few more minutes until everybody gets in here. My sourdough is looking fantastic. I need to take out some and get it fed again. Got a delicious dinner planned for tonight for dinner, so you guys don't want to miss that video. That'll be coming out later next week. All right, so I guess we're gonna go ahead and start. It's 1 o'clock. We'll give it a shot. This is a super easy recipe. So I want to tell you guys a little story first before I get started on today's recipe. So I worked for a sorority house for almost 12 years. I was head chef there, and absolutely loved my time there. Loved getting to cook for all the women. Over the almost 12 years that I was at Pi Phi, I cooked for thousands of girls, and it was so much fun to get to do all of their events. We did tons and tons of big catering events, tons and tons of big, hi, hello. So anyway, so as I was saying, I was head chef at a sorority house for almost 12 years. And during my time there, we had one dessert that was absolutely their favorite thing ever. They would go crazy when we would make this for them. It was tradition for us to put this out during initiation. And so we always had this for initiation. And then I started using it for them a couple of different times during the year. I would make this for them, but they absolutely love this. So, hey, so glad you guys could join us. If you guys are new to my channel, please go hit that subscribe button, give this video a big like, because that really helps out my channel. So we're gonna make a delicious recipe that became the most famous recipe in at Pi Phi during my 12 years that I was there. They actually did it before I ever got there, but we continued it after I got there, and it was just a huge favorite of theirs. So we're going to make this today. It's a super easy dessert to make. We used to make this in what they call hotel pans. If you're not familiar with that, restaurants use big, huge pans to make all of their stuff in. And we would make about 6 of those things of this dessert for the girls, and they absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. So we're gonna make this one. It's super easy. We got some Oreo cookies that makes the crust. We have, and you want to make an actual Oreo crust. You don't want to do, like a pre-made. They just don't work well. So grind up your Oreos fresh. It makes it a whole lot better. What I love about this recipe is you can make as much or as little of this as you want. It is just my husband and I, so I do not need a huge pan. So I'm gonna make a smaller-ish size dessert for us. It's gonna be plenty big enough, and so we're just gonna make it that way. So I went ahead to spare you guys the noise. I went ahead and ground up all of my Oreos in my food processor. I'm gonna take the feed tube off of it, and we're gonna just pulse it until we get all of our melted butter in. I think I have enough butter. I may have to do a little bit more, but we're just gonna pour this in here and get our Oreo crust started. And that is really hot. So I'm gonna use a pot holder because it is super warm. All right, so I'm gonna put in my melted butter into my food processor. Don't want to spill it. All right, so I'm going to pulse this just to get that melted butter mixed in. Oh, my thing came unplugged. All right. We'll see if we have enough butter in here. I may have to melt just a little bit more. But you want enough butter in here that your Oreo crust is going to hold together. Yep, I think we have enough. I think that's plenty of butter. You don't want to make this too buttery and too greasy, because if you do, it's just not going to be very good. So here's my crushed up Oreos. I'm going to get this food processor out of the way so you guys can see what I'm doing, because this is the fun part of this recipe. So I've got my casserole dish right here, and we're going to just dump all of our Oreos in here. This right here, for this size pan, I did 20 Oreos in the food processor and crushed them up. You can crush them up as fine as you want or as little as you want, and it's totally fine. So we're just going to take our hands and really press this down in here. Get it down in there nice and tight. So just like that. I'm going to stick this in the freezer for just a couple of minutes while we get the rest of our stuff ready to go, because this butter needs to chill just a little bit to kind of harden up so it holds our crust together. All right, so that's in there. I'm going to wash my hands real fast. All right, so for the filling of this grasshopper pie, we need some mint chocolate chip ice cream. So you want to do the green color one because it needs to be green for St. Patty's Day. I've got a bowl, and I want to mix this up a little bit in here. We're not adding anything to it, it's just the ice cream, but I want to mix up a little bit of this because if I try to put it in there when it's in a big clump, it's not going to spread very well. So we definitely want it to be a little bit on the soft side, but we also want to be able to get it kind of mixed up so it's easier to spread. And you can see my ice cream is pretty hard. So I definitely want to get this a little bit softer, a little bit more mixed up. So when we did these at the sorority house, and we would make 6 of these huge hotel pans of this grasshopper pie, we would use about 8 of these half gallons of mint chocolate chip ice cream. So we made a lot. Hi, welcome to the live. See how much I need. I'm gauging this just a little bit because I'm not sure how much of this ice cream I'm going to need, because I'm not making a huge pan of this, and I'm used to making big huge pans of this dessert. So I don't want to have too much ice cream softened. Shh, that's my dogs, just ignore them. I don't want to have too much of this ice cream softened up, but I definitely want it to have enough that I can cover my Oreo crumbs in my pan. So as I said, this was an absolute favorite dessert of theirs. At the sorority house, everybody absolutely loved it. So it was absolutely the best. I think I'm going to do a little bit more. It may take this whole half gallon. So if you are new to my channel, welcome. Hope you go hit that subscribe button. I'm trying really hard to get to 1,600 before the end of the month. We're pretty close to that, so if you could help me out and give my channel a like and subscribe, that would be awesome. All right, so I've got my ice cream. We only have just a little tiny bit left in there, so I don't know what I'm going to do. But you can see that we're getting it nice and softened up. And this is going to have to go back in the freezer so that it can re-chill before we slice it. So you guys won't see us enjoy this in the live, you'll see us enjoy this in another video. So make sure you're subscribed. You want to come back for our dinner video that we're doing tonight. You'll see the guys next week. So you want to come back so you can watch that. But I think we're getting it. Yep, it's getting nice and soft. So your crust doesn't have to be in the freezer a whole long time. It just needs a few minutes in there just to get that butter cold again. It doesn't take very long for it to firm up. But I think, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and just use the rest of this because there's only a little tiny bit left in here. So I'm going to go ahead and just use the rest of this ice cream. Let's get this put in here. So this would be a super fun recipe for you to do with your kids, your grandkids, because there is literally no cooking involved in this recipe. It basically is an assembly. There's nothing hot, you know, other than the melted butter, but there's nothing super warm in it. So there's no chance of your kids getting burned or anything like that. So this is a really fun recipe to do with them. So we've got our ice cream nice and soft. I'm going to grab my, I actually need to crush up a few more Oreos because I just remembered that we need to have a few Oreos for the top of our dessert. So I'm going to grab my food processor again. Had to grab my blade. So this is a different kind of grasshopper pie. I've seen a lot of grasshopper pies where you have to, you know, like melt marshmallow and do a whole bunch of stuff to it. And that's what I loved about this recipe when I started at Pi Phi, is they made it super, super easy. We could make a ton of it fairly quickly. There they are. We made a ton of it fairly quickly, and it was just super easy, and I said the girls absolutely loved it. So we're gonna put just a few more. I'm gonna put maybe 4 Oreos in here. We don't want a ton of crumbs on top, but we do want to get just a dusting of Oreos on top of this dessert when we put it together. So we'll go ahead and get these Oreos put in here. Okay, excuse the noise. It's going to be loud. I'm going to just pulse it. Doesn't have to be really, really fine crumbs, but the finer you can get them, the better. Because we'll definitely need these to go on top of our dessert for a little bit of decoration. You got to have a decoration on top. All right, I'm going to grab our dessert out of the freezer. I think that butter's had enough time in there to get a little bit firm so that we are not going to totally mess it up when we start putting the ice cream on there. And I'll show you guys a secret when you're putting ice cream or anything onto like a crust like that, so you don't end up messing it up. So here's our crust. It's been in there about 5 minutes. So I'm going to take just scoops of this, and I'm not going to smear it until I get enough of these clumps of ice cream down on top. And you don't want to lift up. Don't lift up once you start getting the ice cream on here, because you will pull up your crust, and you definitely don't want to do that. So we're going to get our ice cream on here, and then we're going to smear it out, spread it out with our offset spatula. This is going to be delicious for St. Patty's Day. Got that nice green. If you wanted to, instead of doing the Oreos, the plain Oreos, you could do the mint Oreos. I think would be delicious. They didn't have those when I was at the sorority house and we were making this dessert, so it wasn't an option for me back then. But But I think doing the mint Oreos would be a delicious change. Let me find my offset. Here it is. I think that would be a delicious change to this recipe, to use the mint Oreos, and also to use the Andes mints for just chop those up and put those on the top. I think that would be delicious. So we're just going to use our offset spatula. We're not going to pull until we have pushed down. You want to push down on your ice cream so that it's not going to pull up your crust, and you're able to get this spread out nice and even. Because like I said, you don't want to tear up your crust. You want your crust to have a chance to really set up well before you start messing with it too much. So we're just going to use our offset spatula. If you don't have an offset spatula, just use a spatula of whatever kind you have, but still just push down on the ice cream and get it spread out, or get it pushed down onto the crust before you start pulling on it, because it will be a mess if you don't. You'll end up pulling up your crust and messing up that crust on the bottom, and we don't want to do that. So you can see how easy this was. Super easy. You just have to put together the crust on the bottom. Just do your not graham crackers, but your Oreos and butter, and then put your mint chocolate chip ice cream on there. So now we're going to cover this with Cool Whip. And I let this sit out so that it's thawed out. Yeah, it's pretty thawed. All right, so we're just going to put Cool Whip on top, and we're going to spread this out just to get it covered, like kind of like you're frosting a cake. This is essentially the frosting that goes on this. And then, like I said, this is going to go back in the freezer, and it's going to need to freeze for several hours. You're going to need to put this in there for a good, I'm going to say a good 6 to 8 hours. So if you want to make this for St. Patty's Day for dessert, make this in the morning and put it in the freezer and let it just sit in there until after dinner, and then enjoy it then. Because it definitely is going to have to sit up. The ice cream is going to have to firm up again after we let it thaw a little bit. Like I said, this is a super easy dessert, but it was, don't ask me why, but it was the most popular dessert that we had the entire 12 years that I was there at the sorority house. The girls absolutely loved this. And it just makes such a stunning presentation how we finish this off. So there's our Cool Whip, our mint chocolate chip ice cream, our Oreo bottom down there. Now we've got some Hershey syrup. And we're going to do just a drizzle of Hershey syrup over this just to make it look a little bit pretty. Just like that. And then we've got the rest of our Oreos. And we're just going to sprinkle some Oreos over the top. Like I said, this is a super easy dessert. Anybody can make this. You don't need a recipe, really. You don't need, a lot of anything to do it. It's super inexpensive to make. If you're not much of a cook and you're looking for a fun dessert to treat your family and friends to on St. Patty's Day, this is the dessert that you want to make for them. Look at that right there. Got all those beautiful colors. This now, like I said, needs to go back in the freezer, and it needs to be in there for about 6 to 8 hours so that it can be nice and cold, firmed up again, get that ice cream nice and firmed up again, get your crust all nice and firm, get that Cool Whip frozen again, and it's going to be delicious. It's going to be so, so good. So there you go, friends. There is our super easy, quick grasshopper pie. Anybody can make this, and I hope you guys will make it for St. Patty's Day. I will leave the directions in the description for this live video, just in case anybody really needs directions. I'll put it down there so you guys can check it out and make this yourself, because it is absolutely delicious. And as I said, it was a favorite at the sorority house. They all loved it. It was their favorite. We made it so many times. So anyway, friends, that was the only thing I had for you guys today, was this super easy, quick recipe for this delicious Grasshopper Pie. It was our version at Pi Phi. If you're not familiar with Pi Phi is a sorority house on the campus at the University of Oregon, and I was head chef there for 12 years, and this was their absolute favorite dessert. It had been the favorite dessert in the house before I came, and we just continued to do it after I was there. And I don't know if they're still doing it. I imagine they probably are, but this was the favorite dessert there. So I'm gonna go get this in the freezer, and I'm gonna get some things finished up before Abby gets home. But thank you guys again so much for joining me. This is a really quick live today. Usually we try to go an hour, but I wanted to do this recipe for you guys specifically today because St. Patty's Day is coming on Monday, as well as I just lost my boss. She was my boss at the sorority house. I just lost her on Saturday. She fought a long battle with brain cancer and lost her battle on Saturday at some point, and so she is no longer with us. So I thought this would be an opportunity time for me to do this recipe for you guys this weekend and share something that was so special at Pi Phi, just to remember Tracy. And so friends, thank you guys again so much for joining me. I hope you guys will subscribe if you hadn't. Give this video a like. That really helps my channel out. So share my channel with all your friends and family. Help me increase my subscribers. I would appreciate that. And friends, we'll talk to you guys soon. We'll see you in the next live, in the next video coming out on Monday. So see you then, friends. God bless.